Okay. Any questions from last week?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Prabhuji, we end up last class talking about, you were talking about the great Vaishnavas don't come back to in this world again. And it also says, Yat gatvana nivartante tat dhama paramam. But we also see like if these people, great Vaishnavas or great Acharya, would not come in this material world to guide us where we would be today. That is one thing.
Yeah.
And no, it's like we cannot should say actually these people when Krishna says, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yat gatvana nivartante tat dham paramam. So we cannot really like challenge that thing. At same time, the other shloka comes, which says, I am trying to recall that shlok where it says, where Krishna says, those people who glorify, who spread my name, they are most dear to me.
Yes.
I forgot that.
Bhagavad Gita 1869, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Tasmat manishya shukashin me prikritama.
Yeah. So
Yeah, okay.
on one side, so these people, on one side, they go to, I would say these people go back to Godhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, go there and serve him there. And on the other side, they come into this material world to become more dear to Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu, I understand your question.
So these people, I would say instead of, like the great Vaishnava would like to come in this world more rather than going back to Godhead and serve him there. So which one I would say, which one should be right,
Yeah, so very good question, Prabhuji. Thank you for asking. And so basically when Krishna says, Yad gatvana nivartante, he's saying this person is never going to be forced to come to material world. Like our birth is forced. Karma dev whatever karma we have done, accordingly we get a birth. There are many witnesses to that, as Lord Kapil Dev explained to his mother, Devuti. Similarly, all the great acharyas you're talking about, yes, when they go back, they're not forced to come back ever. However, Krishna says there's a need for these devotees to go and spread Krishna consciousness to the people who will otherwise always be entangled in the material world. So to do us a favor, Krishna asks these devotees a favor. He says, I would like you to go, if you don't mind, and do this service or that service. So they appear only for a period of time to serve Krishna in the way he wanted them to serve. And they suffer through the material world, and then they go back again. But they're never forced to come.
Okay.
Like say, even like all the associates of Lord Krishna, all the gopis, not all the gopis, but many gopis, they appeared in the male form when Lord Chaitanya appeared. Swarup Damodar, Ramananda Rai, they were all Sakhis. Right? So they appear only to follow the instructions of Lord Krishna and serve him in the way he wants them to serve. So again, they are not being forced. Krishna simply saying, I need you to do me a favor, just do it for me. They say, of course I will do it for you. So that's what you're seeing.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay, all right, then I'll get started with this week's material. So we're continuing with the reading of the Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami. And we are still in the introduction section. And basically what we did was in the introduction, we said there are three parts of this introduction. First is Mangalacharan, that we finished the 6 verses of Mangalacharan. We have finished that, which basically talk about who is this book about, so Krishna. And then, excuse me. Then the next part is the scope of the book, which is the next paragraph. We won't read it. I'm just going to talk to you about this. And then paragraph after that defines what is pure devotional service. So if you can look at your book, where we left off 2 weeks ago, paragraph immediately after that starts with Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is divided into 4 parts. Is everybody there?
Yes, Prabhuji, I am there.
Okay, good. So basically it's saying there are 4 parts to it. And we are going to do the first part, which talks about the devotional service, the ecstasy that we feel from doing the devotional service, the regulative principles, and the ultimate goal, which is what's the ultimate goal? What's the ultimate goal of our life? Anybody?
The goal of life is just to create ourselves the love for the Supreme Personality of God.
That's it. You got it. So that's the ultimate goal. So those are the 4 things we'll talk about in this book. Now, if I can go to the top of the page 21, XXI. You there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so this is talking about pure devotional service now. So if somebody wants to read the paragraph on the top, the authorized description of bhakti.
I can read it, Prabhuji.
Sure, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Which page we are on?
It's XXI.
Introduction, page 21.
Got it.
Got it? Everybody is there? Okay, all right, then go ahead.
The authorized description of bhakti or devotional service following in the footsteps of previous acharya can be summarized in the following statements by Shri Rupa Goswami. First class devotional service is known by one tendency to be fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, serving the Lord favorably. The purport is that one may also be in Krishna consciousness unfavorably, but that cannot be counted as pure devotional service. Pure devotional service should be free from desire for any kind of material benefit or for sense gratification, as these desires are cultivated through fruitive activities and philosophical speculation. Generally, people are engaged in different activities to get some material profit, while most philosophers are engaged in proposing transcendental realization through volumes of word jugglery and speculation. Pure devotional service must always be free from such fruitive activities and philosophical speculation. One has to learn Krishna consciousness or pure devotional service from the authorities by spontaneous loving services.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. So actually, this is the translation for what I would say is the most famous and most important verse of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's called Paribhas Sutra, which means that the rest of the book basically is coming from this verse, or you can say, in other words, this verse is the sum total summary of the whole book. It's in the book, it's a chapter 1, text 11. And actually this verse is also quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's in the handout that I have given you. So if I can ask somebody to, make sure that everybody is looking at their handout now. Let me know when you're there. It's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 19:167. Let me know when you're there.
Madhya Leela 19.
No, so look at the handout. It's just right there.
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, we are there.
Okay, Mataji, did you find it?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Prabhu, is this Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam, that one?
No, it's before
Anya
that.
Abhilashita, isn't
Yes, correct.
it? Anya.
I think
Oh,
it's
19.167. Got it, Prabhu.
got it. Okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
So would somebody like to read this verse?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
Anya Abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadinavritam anukulyena krishnano shilanam bhaktir uttama. Should I read the translation, Prabhuji?
Please, yes, please do.
When first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monastic philosophy, and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires.
So yeah, basically, in other words, what this verse is saying is that pure devotional service is an activity intended, and I'll keep coming back to this word, intended to please Lord Krishna, without any ulterior motive and not covered by philosophical or fruitive pursuits. So we're going to explain over the next few pages the meaning of this particular verse. Anya Abhilashita shunyam gyan karmadi anavratam. Excuse me. Anukulen krishnanushilanam bhakti uttama. So if somebody can read the next paragraph, basically in this paragraph, the word anushilanam is being explained. Now, krishnanushilanam bhakti uttama is the last, basically the last word in the definition for bhakti uttama. So it says krishnanushilanam bhakti uttama. That's the last line of the verse. So here he's talking about anushilanam. Don't ask me why it starts with the last word of the verse as opposed to first word, but that's how he decided to do that. So somebody please volunteer to read this next paragraph.
Prabhuji,
Huh?
well, Prabhuji, it's Madhya 19.
माताजी आपको handout भेजा था हमने. I sent you
हाँ.
an email, a handout.
हाँ, वो उस पे तो
उस पे है, it's about 4 pages down.
हाँ, four page, पहले पेज पे नहीं है.
नहीं, पहले पेज नहीं. Actually, you know what? From next time on, I'll put the last first. I won't go with the
Last.
secrets. That'll be easy to find then. Anyway, you go down
Last
about
page.
4 pages, you will see in big capital letters Chaitanya Charitamrita 19:167.
Third page mein hai, Prabhuji. It's on third page
Okay, third page.
of the handout that you sent this time. With the
At the bottom of the page.
Mataji, let me know when you find it.
Canto 3, chapter 29.
Canto 3, nahi.
No, there's no canto here. Keep going.
Text 11 and 12.
Canto.
Okay. Can you read
Mother,
the
the
text?
page, the 2 pages before that, Mother.
हाँ, third page पे है तो
Let me know if you found it. Mataji, did you find it?
क्या कौन सा नंबर?
It says Anya Abhilashita shunyam.
अच्छा हाँ, मिल गया.
Well, yeah, okay, that's good. Okay, now that you found it, we're going to go back to the book. So if somebody wants to read the next paragraph, and Mataji, make sure that you are with us as well. So it starts with this devotional service is sort of cultivation. It's at page 21, XXR.
I'll read, Prabhu.
Yeah, just 1 second. I just want to make sure Mataji finds it in her book.
Oh yeah, that page 21. Okay, in the introduction, right?
Yeah. Okay, all right, please go ahead.
This devotional service is a sort of cultivation. It is not simply inaction for people who like to be inactive or devote their time to silent meditation. There are many different methods for people who want this, but cultivation of Krishna consciousness is different. The particular word used by Srila Rupa Goswami in this connection is anushilana, or cultivation by following the predecessor teachers, acharyas. As soon as we say cultivation, we must refer to this activity. Without activity, consciousness alone cannot help us. All activities may be divided into 2 classes. One class may be for achieving a certain goal, and the other may be for avoiding some unfavorable circumstance. In Sanskrit, these activities are called pravritti and nivritti, positive and negative action. There are many examples of negative action. For instance, a diseased person has to be cautious and take medicine in order to avoid some unfavorable illness.
Yeah, thank you. So the main point being made here is that devotional service is an active engagement. The root word for bhakti is bhaj. And bhaj is not same as what in English you call worship. And I want to make sure that this point is very clear. So for example, and I'll explain this again in more detail later on, but for example, you may have a sports hero or a Hollywood hero, and you may have the poster of this person on your wall, and you admire this person, and that's your worship. But there's no relationship, there's no activity in that. So bhakti is not like that. Bhakti means there's some activity going on for the person you're doing bhakti for. Okay, and pure devotion is the activity of offering loving service to Krishna simply to please Krishna. Okay, so pure devotion is the activity of offering loving service. So you're offering service to Krishna, but the reason is that you want to please Krishna. And the point is that without activity is simply emotions. I love you, I love you, love you, but I stay in my bed and my home and never see you. That is not bhakti. Okay, so let's read the next paragraph to become more clear, and then I'll explain the whole thing in more detail. Next person, somebody else wants to volunteer?
May I, Prabhuji?
Anyone can, please go ahead.
Okay. Those who are cultivating spiritual life and executing devotional service are always engaged in activities. Such activity can be performed with the body or with the mind. Thinking, feeling, and willing are all activities of the mind. When we will to do something, the activity comes to be manifest by the gross bodily senses. Thus, in our mental activities, we should always try to think of Krishna and try to plan how to please him. Following in the footsteps of great acharyas and the personal spiritual master, there are activities of the body, activities of the mind, and activities of speech. A Krishna conscious person engages his words in preaching the glories of the Lord. This is called Kirtana, and by his mind, a Krishna conscious person always thinks of the activities of the Lord as he is speaking on the battlefield of Kurukshetra or engaging in his various pastimes in Vrindavan with his devotees. In this way, one can always think of the activities and pastimes of the Lord. This is the mental culture of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. And by that, thinking of the activities and pastimes of the Lord is also known as Smaranam. So the Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So that's what Smaranam is. Okay. So let's go back to the word that's being described here, Anushilanam. So first, there's two words here, Anu and Shilanam. So let's look at the word Shilanam first. And the root verb, which is in Sanskrit called dhatu, for Shilanam is sheel, sorry. Sheel actually has two meanings. First is what's called pravritti atmak, which expresses some kind of a positive action. For example, to practice, to serve, to hear attentively, etc. That is, or do arti, that is pravritti, in that there's an action involved here. But activities that are favorable to Krishna. The second meaning is nivritti, which is expressing non-action. So for example, performing meditation or samadhi. It also means avoidance of activities which are unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. So can somebody give me an example of unfavorable activity in Krishna consciousness? Sorry, I'm sorry, unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. Something that's not favorable for Krishna consciousness. Just one or two examples.
Association of non-devotees.
Exactly, yeah.
Core
Anybody
and
else?
relative principles.
Yes, thank you. That is correct. Any example of favorable to Krishna consciousness?
Just being in your association, Prabhu.
Okay, the opposite. Yeah, sure. So yeah, you're right. So basically, the shilnam can be active service, passive service, or shilnam actually can also be something that's not favorable. Now let's come to anu. So remember, anu shilnam is two words, anu and shilanam. So we just talked about shilanam. Now let's talk about anu, the prefix to shilanam. The literal word anu means that which follows. That which follows. So for example, when we chant our prayers to Tulsi Maharani, one line is Hey Nivedana Dharo Sakhir Anugat Karo Seva Adhikar Diye Karo Nijidasi Namo Namo. Right? So Sakhir Anugat Karo means let me follow the example of the Sakhis. So please give me the empowerment, please empower me, give me the eligibility to follow in the footsteps of the Sakhis. And with that, you make me your maid servant so I can serve you and Krishna. So that's what anu means. You're following in the footsteps of somebody. So the fact that Rupa Goswami is using the word anushilanam here, it implies that devotional service is possible only when we follow somebody. Okay, I want to say that again. Anushilanam means devotional service is possible only when we follow in the footsteps of somebody. And who's that person? Immediate to us? Our Guru. Which means if we are not in Guru Parampara, we're not doing real devotional service. So we already know that the devotional service is possible only by the mercy of Krishna and his devotees. So therefore, if there's no anu, shilanam has no meaning because shilanam is not going to connect you to Krishna. In other words, anu shilanam is what connects you to Krishna. It's the word anu, or prefix anu, that's linking shilanam to Krishna. It's contrast that to some of us follow some people on like a sports person or another famous personality on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, friend, we follow a friend or a sports person, or writer, hero, whatever. But for that, we do not need anu or disciplic succession. Like how many of us can say, oh, I follow, I don't know, Narendra Modi, and how disciplic succession I need to follow Narendra Modi? No, anybody can do that. But for Krishna, we have to have somebody we can follow. We have to have a disciplic succession before we can connect to Krishna. Now I'm going to pause and ask you if that point is clear, because it's a very important point. Not clear, ask me.
Quite clear.
Okay, all right.
Prabhu, it's clear, Prabhu. Prabhu,
Okay.
Only one question, Prabhu. Is this the Paribhasha Sutra you were talking about?
Yes, so it's the whole thing, the whole verse.
Okay.
The whole verse. Okay.
And also, Prabhu, in this previous paragraph that we read, it says the purport is that one may also be in Krishna consciousness unfavorably,
Okay,
but
I'm coming
that
to that.
cannot be counted as okay.
I'm coming to
Okay,
that. I'm not done
sorry.
yet. I'm not done yet.
Yeah, because this is pertaining to your lecture last Sunday, right?
It's very similar. Yes,
Okay,
very,
Prabhu.
very similar. Yes. So I want to make sure that this part is clear, that why the word anu has to be there.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Just want to clarify.
Ah,
Earlier you said like emotions itself, they are of no use, right? Emotions alone itself.
correct.
And then if there is an active service, only then they are of use, and they are only possible with Anushilanam when we are connected through Parampara. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Sure. Okay. So let's move on to the next paragraph, which talks about Krishna Anushilanam. So far we talked about Anushilanam. And we explained why we need to have Anushilanam, not just Shilanam, to connect to Krishna. So now next paragraph is talking about Krishna Anushilanam. So if somebody would like to read, please.
Starting from similarly,
Yes, yes.
I can do, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
Similarly, we can offer many services with our bodily activities, but all such activities must be in relationship with Krishna. This relationship is established by connecting oneself with the bona fide spiritual master, who is the direct representative of Krishna in disciple cessation. Therefore, the execution of Krishna consciousness activities with the body should be directed by the spiritual master and then performed with faith. The connection with the spiritual master is called initiation. From the date of initiation by the spiritual master, the connection between Krishna and the person cultivating Krishna consciousness is established. Without initiation by the bona fide master, spiritual master, the actual connection with Krishna consciousness is never performed.
Yeah, thank you. So what a beautiful paragraph. So basically, to use different words, you can say that those who truly follow Krishna are in Guru Parampara. So these days, there's a device that has become very popular. It's called GPS. Everybody knows GPS?
GPS?
Yes.
Global positioning
Yes,
system.
Prabhuji.
Globe.
So GPS is geographical, I think, positioning system.
Positioning system.
So you can get it on your
Those
cell
who
phone, you
truly
can get it in your
follow
car, and gives the directions to wherever you want to go. Okay, it's called GPS, geographical positioning system. So by satellite, they say, okay, I know where you are. You want to go there, here's the way to go. I thought everybody would be using that these days. But anyway,
GPS is,
huh?
people are using GPS.
Yeah, because some people said, no, they don't know what it is. Anyway, so that's what this is. So that is your geographical positioning system to tell you where you're going or where you need to go and how to get there. We have our spiritual GPS. It's called Guru Parampara system.
GPS, yes.
Okay, so GPS for us is Guru Parampara system, but it does the same thing. It tells us how to get to Krishna. So when we perform devotional activities by following a spiritual master who's himself following the Guru Parampara. In other words, just following a guru is not enough. That guru must be in that disciplic succession as well, all the way to Krishna. So for example, in our case, it's our Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, Gaur Kushadas Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Baldev Vidya Bhushan, Narottam Das Thakur, etc., etc., Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, all the way to Lord Chaitanya, and then goes beyond that, Ishwar Puri, Madhavendra Puri, Lakshmi Tirtha, on and on until Vyasdev, Narad Muni, Brahma, and Krishna. Okay? So a bona fide disciplic succession system must start with Krishna, otherwise it's not bona fide. And should be unbroken link coming all the way to us. Okay? And a guru, I'm sorry, before I go there. So the reason it's important is that you start going and you're going from one guru to his guru, to his guru, to his guru, to his guru. If there's a broken chain there somewhere, then that stop. It's like you're going on a bridge and suddenly the bridge ends. There's no connection to the other side. No, you stop there. So therefore, the connection has to be continuous all the way to Krishna for you or for us to connect to Krishna. Now I want to point out also, we talk about Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru. So think of yourself as being a plug. Everyone understands a plug, right? You're plugged to a light, to a cell phone, to a laptop, etc. A plug that you connect to the socket on the wall. Everybody knows that? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. So think of ourselves as the plug. A Shiksha Guru can take us all the way to the socket on the wall, but that's it. So now you're very close, but you're not connected. The Diksha Guru takes the socket, puts it in the wall, and the connection is made. So your Diksha Guru is connecting you to Krishna. Clearly, the Guru has to be in the parampara. Okay, so that's another very important point that I wanted to make sure that everybody's clear on. But what does connection to Krishna mean? What does it mean I'm connected to Krishna now? It means that now I will do what Krishna wants. I will now act according to Krishna's transcendental desires. I will do what Arjun said in chapter 18, Bhagavad Gita, text 73, Karishye vachanam tava. Now I will follow all your instructions. That's what following the Krishna's desires means. Know what he wants and do what he wants. The spiritual master also ensures by the process of initiation that we get the purity and selflessness in ourselves. So without initiation, we cannot connect to Krishna. If we cannot connect with Krishna, then we don't know what his desires are. What does he want? If we don't know what does he want, then how can we do what will please him? Because we don't know what will please him. Unless we connect to Krishna, unless you know what his desires are, unless we know what he wants, we will not know what he wants. Therefore, we will not know what to do to please him. My favorite example is like, if one of you invites me to your palace for dinner prasadam, and you spend all day cooking 9 different varieties of Karela dishes. When I show up, I will not eat any of that because I hate Karela. So if you don't know that, you invite me and you serve me Karela, then when I don't eat it, you get upset. Well, I'm upset and you're upset. Because now I have to go home hungry, and you say, I wasted all my day. The same thing with Krishna. If we don't know what Krishna wants, we will not know what to do that will please Krishna. And our Guru tells us what Krishna wants, what will please Krishna, and then we do that. Okay. Now let's go to the next paragraph, which explains the potency under which devotional activities are performed. So anybody wants to volunteer?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can read. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Radha Vinod Prabhuji, you want to read or?
You go ahead, Prabhuji.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Prabhuji. This cultivation of Krishna consciousness is not material. The Lord has 3 general energies, namely the external energy, the internal energy, and the marginal energy. The living entities are called marginal energy, and the material cosmic manifestation is the action of the external or material energy. Then there is the spiritual world, which is a manifestation of the internal energy. The living entities, who are called marginal energy, perform material activities when acting under the inferior external energy. And when they engage in activities under the internal spiritual energy, their activities are called Krishna conscious. This means that those who are great souls or great devotees do not act under the spell of material energy, but act instead under the protection of the spiritual energy. Any activities done in devotional service or in Krishna consciousness are directly under the control of spiritual energy. In other words, energy is a sort of strength, and this strength can be spiritualized by the mercy of both the bona fide spiritual master and Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. And let's go to the next paragraph. Also, somebody wants to read the next paragraph?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
In the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishna Kavidas Goswami, Lord Chaitanya states that it is the fortunate person who comes in contact with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. One who is serious about spiritual life is given by Krishna the intelligence to come in contact with a bona fide spiritual master, and then by the grace of the spiritual master, one becomes advanced in Krishna consciousness. In this way, the whole jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness is directly under the spiritual energy, Krishna and the spiritual master. This has nothing to do with the material world.
Can you stop for a second, Prabhu?
Yeah.
I just want to explain a few things here before we proceed to the rest of the paragraph. So basically, these two paragraphs are explaining how the energy and the inspiration to perform devotional service comes from Krishna. Devotional service originates from Krishna's spiritual potency or internal potency, and it flows down through the disciplic succession and installed in our hearts by our spiritual master. Is that point clear? Because again, a very important point. The devotional service is originating from Krishna's internal energy or spiritual potency, whatever you call it. It flows down to the disciplic succession and is installed in the heart, in our heart by our spiritual master.
Prabhuji, just the strength, can you add little bit of there, sort of strength? It says that there, right?
I'm sorry?
The word says the sort of strength, that under the control of spiritual energy, in other words, energy is sort of strength.
Okay, cultivation is not material or it's three energies. In the spiritual world, the living.
Energy is sort of strength.
Is the first paragraph, second paragraph? Which one are you reading?
The first one which Prabhu read.
Last line of the first paragraph.
Oh, last line, I'm sorry. Energy is sort of strength. Strength can be, so basically the word is energy is implying that the strength comes from energy. That's all it means. The energy is translated into strength. So for example, when I'm feeling like these days, when I'm feeling low in energy, I have no strength to do anything. Or at least I use that excuse to not do any homework.
Prabhu, that is the motivation comes from that. Can we say that strength as a motivation?
It's not talking about that.
Okay.
Okay, it's the strength to do the work, the activity.
Oh, I see, energy. Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. So basically, the point that is most important here is that this energy is flowing through the
Krishna.
disciplic succession from Krishna down to us. So therefore, if the link is broken anywhere, the chain is broken anywhere, there's nothing coming to you. So once again, making the point, disciplic succession is critical to our success in devotional service. And that's the point I want to make sure is clear. Okay. So what that means is that we have to have what we call bona fide spiritual master. Because by definition, bona fide means is part of disciplic succession. However, obtaining a bona fide spiritual master is not easy. And it requires a tremendous amount of good fortune. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya says, Brahmanda Brahmite Kano Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. So it says, Keno Bhagyavan Jeev, some very fortunate soul. A soul means not just human being, just any soul. They're going up and down different planets of the universe or universes. And only by very good fortune, somebody gets a human life. And then among all those humans, somebody very, very fortunate obtains a bona fide guru. ब्रह्मांड भरते को न भाग्यवान जीव Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Beach. Now, so how do you get so lucky? How does one get lucky? That is earned through what's known as spiritual credits. Spiritual credits are earned by serving a devotee knowingly or unknowingly. They're not same as pious credits, which you can get by some pious activities like charity, helping other people, and so on and so forth. It is spiritual credits that you get from serving a devotee, knowingly or unknowingly. This spiritual credit gives rise to what's known as Shraddha, or faith, the initial faith in our heart. And then we go through 10 stages of making progress in devotional service, which is defined in another very famous verse from Nectar of Devotion. We'll discuss this later on. It says, Ado Shraddha, Tato Sadhu Sang, Ata Bhajana Kriya, Syat, Artha Nivritti, etc., etc. It goes on all the way to Prem Bhakti. But the beginning of that is Shraddha, beginning of which is service to devotees. Okay? So by following a bona fide spiritual master, we can link our energies and activities to Krishna's internal potency, Yogamaya. And then when that happens, then all our activities become automatically spiritualized. And you can say, then the karma becomes akarma. I'm going to pause again and see if that's clear. Somebody say yes or no, please.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, great.
So, Prabhuji, if I had to phrase it one, so that means from Guru, ultimately it comes to the instruction, we follow the instruction, those instructions are spiritualized, and that is how we connect to the Krishna. Is that we understand, simplified?
Yeah, you could say that, yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can say that.
Prabhuji, two things to clarify.
The
the first thing you said, like, in terms of like karma becoming a karma. So karma becomes a karma because whatever we do for the pleasure of Krishna.
Right. It's like chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita, activities in Krishna consciousness.
In Krishna consciousness. And then the second thing is, if to your earlier point, if somebody is not connected through the Guru Parampara and they do some activities, even if they are connected in Krishna consciousness, it is just because of their emotions. Is that correct?
No. That's not what I said. What I said was, you're doing all this, but you're not connected to Krishna, so the benefit is not there. Okay. You can still get benefit like Cheto Dharma Marjana, cleansing of consciousness, purification. You can have all that. But remember, what is our objective? What's the ultimate goal? Love for Krishna, right? You won't get that.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
So Prabhuji, just to add here, it's a very nice question. So that means those are not connected, they get a sukruti. Can we say like that? As you said?
It's more than sukruti. The sukruti is there for sure, but it's even more than that.
Okay, they get it. Okay.
But you will not get love of Krishna. Okay. All right. So if you go back to the verse, it says, Anukulyana Krishnanushilanam. So far we talked about what does Krishnanushilanam mean. Right? But if you remember the third and the fourth line, Anukulyan Krishnanushilanam Bhakti Uttama. So now Anukulyan, what does that mean? So let's talk about that. Anukulyan basically means favorable intention. So again, the word intention comes back. Favorable intention is Anukulyan. So Anukulyan Krishnanushilanam means serving Krishna with a favorable intention. Okay. So I'm going to come back to this, but I'm going to go on a tangent. I want to describe two terms or two words that apply here. One is called Swarup Lakshan, or primary characteristic. The second is called Tatastha Lakshan, or secondary characteristic. Now, so what is Swarup Lakshan or primary characteristic? Swarup Lakshan is something that describes let me rephrase it. Swarup Lakshan is something that describes the fundamental nature, like intrinsic quality of an object or a person. So for example, what is the intrinsic quality or primary characteristic of water? Anybody?
Fluidity.
Sorry, Prabhu?
Fluidity.
Fluid. Yeah, fluid. Yes, absolutely. It's fluid or liquid. What about fire?
Burn.
Heat,
Hot.
Heat and
Heat.
burn.
Heat and?
Burn.
light,
Burning.
Burn.
light,
No, burn is same as heat, Prabhu. You get burned by heat.
Heat.
Light.
and
Heat
light.
and light.
Light, yes, light. What about soul?
Satchitananda.
No.
Okay.
Eternal servant of Krishna.
Servant of Krishna, exactly.
Jiva
That's
Swarupa
intrinsic
is
nature.
Yeah.
So Satchitananda also, by the way, that's also correct. But here we're talking about, devotional service. So we're talking about being the servant. So these are the primary characteristic of the example of primary characteristic. Okay. So Krishnanushilanam is the primary characteristic. Now we're going to try and qualify it. The second word I said was Tatastha Lakshan, or secondary characteristic. So secondary characteristic is something that further distinguishes an object or a person. So in other words, when you start describing qualities of an object beyond the fundamental nature. So for example, we talked about water. The fundamental nature of water is liquid. The secondary characteristic of water can be pure or impure. So that's secondary characteristic. Okay. So what we're saying is that Krishnanushilanam is the primary characteristic of a living entity. You're servant by nature, servant of Krishna. Okay. Similarly, Anukulyan, which is the qualifying it or further distinguishing it, is secondary characteristic, and it means the intention to please Krishna. So understand, you can serve Krishna, but we may or may not have intention to please Krishna. Somebody's got their TV on. Can you please put yourself on mute? Thank you. So the intention to please Krishna is the secondary characteristic of serving Krishna, because you can serve Krishna without trying to please Krishna. And we'll talk about that. That was a question that was raised earlier also, and I'm going to explain that. Okay. So we have defined Krishnanushilanam now. And now we're trying to distinguish further by Anukulyan. So basically what happens is that sometimes Krishna derives pleasure from the activities of even those people who are inimical toward him. Inimical. For example, the demons sometimes afford an opportunity to Krishna to fight the demon, kill the demon, and protect his devotees. So basically, that's what Krishna wants to do. Paritranaya sadhunam vinasha tishkatam. So these demons are engaged in activity that pleases Krishna. Right? They are doing Krishna's plan. Kill the demons, protect my devotees. But I can say whatever I want, but I think it would be absurd to say that demons are devotees, that they practice devotional service. On the other hand, we know Bhishma Dev is a Mahajan, pure devotee, but he was shooting his arrows at Arjuna and at Krishna. As a matter of fact, there's a description in Srimad Bhagavatam where his arrows puncture the arm of Lord Krishna and starts to bleed. But that is devotional service. But the demons doing the same thing is not devotional service. So what's the difference? The difference is intention. Bhishma Dev's intention was to please Krishna with chivalry, in the mood of chivalry. The demons are never trying to please Krishna in the mood of chivalry. They just want to kill Krishna. Devotee says, how do I find Krishna and serve him? Demon says, how do I find Krishna and kill him? That's the difference. They're both looking for Krishna. So therefore, the adjective anukulyan is being used in the definition of bhakti, that it must be anukulyan Krishna anushila. The point is that devotional service is not just an activity that, just by the way, pleases Krishna. It's an activity that is intended to please Krishna. Otherwise, it's not bhakti, not pure bhakti. Put it even differently, a favorable, non-inimical attitude toward Krishna is essential to the activities of devotional service. So what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that devotional activity must be pleasing to Krishna, and they must be performed with an intent to please Krishna. In other words, a favorable intent. If an activity pleases Krishna but was not intended to please Krishna, then that is not bhakti. For example, another example, Kansa was remembering Krishna all the time, like 24/7, sleeping, waking, eating, walking, talking, whatever he was doing, he was thinking about Krishna all the time. I mean, that's Vishnu Smaranam, when think about this. But the difference was his mood was not anukulyan. It was not favorable. It was, again, as I was saying before, how do I find Krishna and kill him? Not very favorable. On the other hand, even an action that apparently displeases Krishna is considered pure devotional service if the intention is to lovingly serve him. So what's an example of that? An example of an action that apparently displeases Krishna is pure loving service. So example is Mother Yashoda. She's chastising him. She's tying him down. She's telling him not to move. She's yelling at him. But Krishna is loving it. Why? Because the intention of Mother Yashoda was to please Krishna. It's coming from a very loving heart. She's very favorable to Krishna. She wants everything good for him. And therefore, her chastisement is welcome by Krishna. It's pure devotional service. So that intention of being anukulyan is the most prime important factor in executing devotional service. And this is what I was talking about in my last class that Mother Padma was referring to, like examples of Lord Shiva, Bhishma, and Jatala, Kutala, etc., etc. Okay, let me pause again and see if there are any questions or comments before we start again.
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Bolo.
So Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksh, they were Jai Vijay, right? And Kansa and was it Kumbhakarna also? They came in three different.
Ravan Kumbhakarna.
Ravan and Kumbhakarna.
Dantavakra and Shishupal.
Yeah, but to begin with, they came, they did all that for Krishna's pleasure, isn't it?
Correct.
Krishna wanted to have fight.
Correct.
So how come then Kansa's was not anukuliyena Krishna anushilanam? Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. So as Jai Vijay, it was very anukulyan.
Yes.
They remained pure devotees. But when they played the role of Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, etc., that role was not favorable. So Jai and Vijay, pure devotees, no question about it. Whatever they did was favorable. Lord Narayan said, this was done by my will that you curse them, my dear Kumaras.
Yeah.
So yes, as Jai Vijay, it was very favorable. But as Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravan, Kumbhakarna, Shishupal, Dantavakra, not favorable.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anyone else?
Dad, a quick one. When you talk about, you're making a differentiation between devotional service and pure devotional service, right? Because it is possible to engage in devotional service without pure intentions,
Correct.
right? Or like, you know, Prabhupada always gave the example of even if somebody says Hare Krishna mockingly,
Correct.
that's still to their benefit. So you're
Correct.
speaking about pure versus impure.
Correct. So we're talking about Bhakti Uttama. If you look at the verse again,
Got it. Yeah.
Bhakti Uttama is defining pure devotional service. Yes. So thank you for pointing it out because it may not have been clear to other people as well. Any other questions or comments? Okay. So Radha Prabhu, you want to continue from where you left off?
Yeah, I will do that. Yeah. So when we speak of Krishna, in a quote, we refer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead along with his many expansions. He is expanded by his plenary parts and parcels, his differentiated parts and parcels, and his different energies. Krishna, again quote, in other words, means everything and includes everything. Generally, however, we should understand Krishna to mean Krishna and his personal expansions. Krishna expands himself as Baldev, Sankarshana, Vasudev, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Rama, Narsimha, Varaha, as well as many other incarnations and innumerable Vishnu expansions. These are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam to be as numerous as uncountable waves. So Krishna includes all such expansions as well as his pure devotees. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Krishna's expansions are all complete in eternity, blissfulness, and cognizance.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. So we keep saying Krishna Anushilinam, Anukulan Krishna Shilinam. Well, what does Krishna mean? What is Krishna referring to? So that's what's being explained here. So the first line that you read, Prabhu, says, when we refer to Krishna, we're talking about all his expansions as well. So all the expansions of plenary expansions of Krishna are included with Krishna. So whether it is Aniruddha, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, etc., Lord Ram, Nrsimhadev, etc., they're all included in that. Okay. Now, it's not just that. Expansion of Krishna also includes his what we call differentiated parts and parts, us, the living entities, and his different energies, which is the material world and the spiritual world, you know, and the three energies that we talk about. In other words, when we say Krishna, it means everything. All expansions are included in the word Krishna, including his pure devotees. What does that mean? What it really means is that the secret to serve Krishna is to serve the Vaishnavas and become the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Oh, I just realized I'm plugging my PC. Just 1 second, please. Okay, thanks. So when we say Krishna, it means everything, everyone. And our goal should be, or the secret to serve Krishna is to become the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. In Padyavali, Lord Chaitanya has this beautiful and very famous verse, which starts with Naham Vipro Nata Narpati Na Vaishyo Nat Sudro Napi Shudro. And there he says that Gopi Bhartur Padakamaliyur Das Dasanudas. I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the husband of the Gopis, Lord Krishna. And that should be our goal. That is our goal, actually, to serve the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Because the more we serve the devotees of Krishna, the more of their collective consciousness will enter our consciousness. And that will help us feel more ecstasy and become more purified. As a matter of fact, Lord Krishna says in the, I forget which canto it is, but in Bhagavatam, Krishna says that the person who says is my devotee is not my devotee, but the devotee of my devotee is my devotee. And even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, when somebody would go to him and say, Maharaj, I would like to be initiated by you. And he'll say, who are you? And if the person said, oh, Maharaj, I'm a servant of Krishna, he'll say, okay, go wash pots in the kitchen. And basically reject him. If somebody said, Maharaj, I'm a servant of Krishna, say, okay, fine, you're ready for initiation. And that's the point. That the trick is to become the servant of Krishna, not to try and become servant of Krishna. We please Krishna by serving and pleasing his devotees. So what that means, what really means is that love for Krishna is not limited to love for Krishna, but it pervades everything because Krishna includes everything. And of all the primary characteristics of bhakti, this is the most essential characteristic, that we are a servant of the servant of the servant. However, as Radha Bhakti was pointing out, that we are, in this book, we are talking about pure devotional service. So even we just said devotional service, you're talking about pure devotional service. So pure devotional service is for Krishna, not for mundane things. So in other words, you say, well, Upanuga, you said the living entities are included in that. So therefore, I'm serving my dog, I'm serving my cat, I'm serving my friends. Sorry, that's not what pure devotion is. It's not for mundane things. Only Krishna and his proper expansions are proper recipients of a pure devotion service. So I'm going to pause again and see if any questions or comments on that. Okay, all right, and then we'll keep going. Somebody wants to read the next paragraph?
Yes, Pitashri, can I?
Please go ahead, please.
Devotional service means to prosecute Krishna conscious activities which are favorable to the transcendental pleasure of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and any activities which are not favorable to the transcendental favor of the Lord cannot be accepted as devotional service. For example, great demons like Ravana, Kamsa, and Hiranyakashipu were always thinking of Krishna, but they were thinking of him as their enemy. Thus, this sort of thinking cannot be accepted as bhakti or Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, thank you. So again, the point is being re-emphasized that if it's not favorable, it's not anukulyam, it's not bhakti. You can do same activities of talking about them, hearing about them, remembering them, even maybe serving them, but it's not anukulyam. It's not pleasing to him. It's not favorable to him. Intention is not favorable. It's not devotional service. In other words, we have to serve Krishna as he wants to be served and not as we want to serve him. And I meet a lot of devotees in the temple who say, well, I want to do this, I'll do that. I want to do this, I'll do that. Well, I'm sorry, it's not your choice, it's not our choice. Like, we are still at a stage where you have to follow certain rules and regulations, and we have to do what Krishna wants us to do, not what we want to do for Krishna. You know, I want to do a certain way, and that's the way I'm going to do it. That is not devotional service. That's why I get very sad. Sometimes I see fights going on in the temple because people say, well, I do this way, I always want to do this way, I'm going to do it this way. And I'll give you a practical example. Many years ago, 25, 30 years ago, we were training some of the pujaris in our temple. And one pujari said, I'm not going that way. All these years I've been doing it this way. That's the only way I'll do it. Otherwise, I won't do it. Well, you may be a pujari, but that is not pure devotional service. And that's the point being made. It has to be done the way Krishna wants to be served, not as we want to serve him. Okay, it's not like open field for anybody, anything you want to do goes. No, it has to be dictated by what Krishna wants. Okay, let's move on to the next paragraph.
Should I read, Prabhuji?
Please go ahead.
Prabhuji, which page is that?
The impersonal is sometimes misunderstood.
23.
23.
XXIII.
Is Prabhuji, can I ask if
Yeah, you
there
can,
are
but can everybody else please mute yourself? I keep hearing background noises.
two kinds of nectar of devotion books? There
Sorry,
are
Mataji. Sorry, Mataji, I couldn't hear. What did you say?
there are two kinds of different books, because in my book I am lost. I cannot find anything.
Okay, so
This
what did you
is
find?
my book.
What did you find?
Like the page you were reading, I can't find.
Yeah, that's possible that page by page might be one or two number different, but should be somewhere in the same neighborhood. So tell me, what did you find around page 21 in your book?
21.
Yeah, page XXI.
Do you want me to share my screen and follow?
Yeah,
on with
Radhavakti,
Anthony?
thank you. Yes, thank you, Radhavakti.
Does that come through?
Yeah, it come through. Yeah, Mataji, can you see it?
Yeah. This
Radhavakti,
is
can you
page
go back maybe a little couple of paragraphs so she can see more?
Wait. Page 21, it says the first stages of devotion. And I don't have
Mataji, I hope you're not reading page 21. It's page XXI.
it doesn't say it here in my book.
Do you see that? What's the title? Does it say introduction?
Introduction.
Right at the beginning of the
introduction says X,
yes,
X, Y, X.
yes, so go there, yes. So XXIII.
X, I, X.
No,
लिखा है।
XX.
यहाँ लिखा है X, I, X.
Okay, so keep going. That's 19. Go to the next page, we'll say XX. Page
Next
after that, we'll say
page.
XXI. One more page,
लिखा कुछ
XXII.
लिखा कुछ नहीं है।
नीचे नहीं लिखा कुछ?
Roman 23, Prabhuji.
But Prabhuji, she doesn't know the Roman.
हाँ XXI लिखा है।
हाँ, next page क्या लिखा है?
XXI.
No, उसके next page.
XX 2 eyes.
हाँ, इसके next page.
XX 3 eyes.
हाँ, but wait there. See if you can find this paragraph that says the impersonalists sometimes misunderstand.
Yeah, I find that impersonalist
Okay,
sometimes
so
misunderstand.
now we're on the same page,
Okay.
right?
So now you are reading from here.
Yes, Mataji, from right from there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, go ahead.
The impersonalists sometimes misunderstand devotional service in such a way that they divide Krishna from his paraphernalia and pastimes. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is spoken on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the impersonalists say that although Krishna is of interest, the battlefield of Kurukshetra is not. The devotees, however, also know that the battlefield of Kurukshetra by itself has nothing to do with their business, but in addition, they know that Krishna does not mean just Krishna alone. He is always with his associates and paraphernalia. For instance, if someone says, give something to eat to the man with the weapons, the eating process is done by the man and not by the weapons. Similarly, in Krishna consciousness, a devotee may be interested in paraphernalia and locations such as battlefield of Kurukshetra, which are associated with Krishna, but he is not concerned with simply any battlefield. He is concerned with Krishna, his speech, his instructions, etc. It is because Krishna is there, that battlefield is so important.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. So we talked about Krishna, including his expansions, all the energies, the living entities, and so on. So now saying it also includes paraphernalia. It also includes pastimes. As a matter of fact, pastimes, paraphernalia, name, form, they're all non-different from Krishna. So therefore, we cannot divide them. But impersonalists, in their stupidity, they try to separate Krishna from everything else. So Rupa Goswami is giving the example of Battle of Kurukshetra. Well, the devotees talk about Kurukshetra. Why? Because there was a battle there. No, that's not the reason. But there was a battle there that included Krishna. That's why it's important. So the prime objective always comes out to be Krishna. If there's no Krishna, pure devotee has nothing to do with it. So there may be battle of Haldighati, there may be battle of Waterloo, there may be battle of this or that. Devotee has nothing to do with that. But devotee does have something to do with battle of Kurukshetra because Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna. That's why it's important, not any other reason. So devotee does not separate Krishna's paraphernalia and his pastimes and places, etc. But impersonalists try to do that, and we don't agree with them. Okay, so the paraphernalia, the pastime, the place, etc., become important because Krishna is there, and that's the devotee's thought process. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. A volunteer, please.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
The definition of a pure devotee as given by
sorry,
Rupa.
There was
This is the summary.
Sorry, which one?
Just above that.
Oh, this is the summary understanding of what Krishna consciousness is. Without his understanding, one is sure to misunderstand why the devotees are interested in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. One who is interested in Krishna becomes interested in his different pastimes and activities.
Yes. So once again, the point I was trying to make was that the devotees, because they're interested in Krishna, they are also interested in his activities, his pastimes, and anything associated with Krishna. Whether it's his dress, whether it's his flute, whether it's morpank, the peacock feather, or whatever activities he's doing, even the butter becomes important when it's associated with Krishna. There's so much butter everywhere, but when Krishna is stealing it, it becomes important. There's so many people dancing in the world, but Krishna's dancing, it becomes important. And that's the point. And that's the bottom line, that Krishna is the center of whatever. Krishna is the singular target of pure devotion. And it is because of this one-pointed love, Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi, one-pointed love for Krishna, that the devotees love everything directly connected to Krishna. Okay, once again, remember Mangalacharya said the objective of the book is Krishna. So everything is about Krishna here. Pure devotional service is about Krishna and whatever is connected to Krishna. Okay. Mata, you can read the next paragraph now. The definition of a pure devotee.
Should I?
Oh, sure, please continue.
Can I read?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. The definition of a pure devotee, as given by Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasa Amrit Sindhu, can be summarized thus. His service is favorable and is always in relation to Krishna. In order to keep the purity of such Krishna conscious activities, one must be free from all material desire and philosophical speculations. Any desire except for the service of the Lord is called material desire.
Okay, stop please for a second. Just stop for a minute, please.
Okay.
So now, Rupa Goswami has gone back to the first line of the verse. What was the first line? Anybody remember?
Yep.
Anya Abhilashita
Anya Abhilashita shunyam. Yes. Now it's gone back to that line. Now, The interesting thing is, in this line, the word Abhilashita is used. You would expect a little bit, the word is Abhilasha. Does everybody know enough Hindi to know what Abhilasha means?
Abhilasha means desire.
Desire, exactly right. So what does Abhilashita mean?
Desires.
One who desires or something.
No,
No?
no.
Abhilashita. The things of we are thinking like desiring.
Okay.
Not Abhilashita.
So Abhilashita means desire-ness,
Desireness.
not less, ness, and as in normal.
Desireness.
Yes. So the reason he's using Abhilashita, not Abhilasha, is the desire. Abhilasha can be spiritual or material, right? You can have a spiritual desire, you can have material desire. They'll both be Abhilasha.
Sorry to interrupt, Prabhu. What is Abhilashita?
Abhilasha is desire-ness. I'm going to explain further also, but the meaning is desire-ness. And I'm trying to explain why does Rupa Goswami use the word Abhilashita, not Abhilasha. He says Anya Abhilashita shunyam, not Anya Abhilasha shunyam. Okay. So, sorry, hello. So Abhilasha can be spiritual, a spiritual desire. Abhilasha can be material, a material desire. And Rupa Goswami is not saying Abhilasha shunyam. First of all, it's not possible to be Abhilasha shunyam. We cannot be desireless. Nobody. None of us can be desireless. Even Krishna is not desireless. Right? So, An-Abhilasha Shunyam will not make any sense. That's not possible. So, he's using the word An-Abhilasha Shunyam. What does that mean? Abhilashta means desiredness, which refers only to material desires. So, An-Abhilasha Shunyam means devoid of any material desire. Okay? What is a material desire? Any desire that does not include the desire to serve Krishna is material desire. Right? Making sense? So any desire except for the desire to serve Krishna is material desire. Now, is that point clear?
Yes,
so he's not saying become Abhilasha Shunyam. That's not possible. He's saying become Abhilashita Shunyam, which means do not have any desire except the desire to serve Krishna. In other words, Abhilashita Shunyam means you are devoid of any material desire. Okay, are you with me? Somebody says, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji.
Oh, thank you. However, just to confuse you, let's talk about one other type of desire. This is called integral desire. Now, what is integral desire? Integral desire basically is the basic instinct of self-preservation. If you know the pyramid, the pyramid of needs, the first is self-preservation. The drive to survive, to eat, to evacuate, etc. The basic desires. One can have these desires and still be a pure devotee, because pure devotees have these needs as well. As long as they don't become the primary motivation in one's life, this is okay. Even Dhruv Maharaj, sorry, not Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj has this whole nursing kavach, protect my shoulders, protect my arms, etc., etc. So to ask for protection is okay. That's your integral desire, basic instinct. That doesn't interfere with your purity of service, as long as that doesn't become the primary motivation for your service. So I'm serving you because I want protection. No, then it's not right. Okay. So for example, a devotee who has dedicated his full energy to advance in devotional service, is suddenly put in a life-threatening situation and he calls out, Krishna, please save me. I mean, clearly that's not a desire for Krishna's pleasure. It's a very personal desire for self-preservation. But it's an integral desire because it's an integral part of existence. These kind of desires do not exclude you from pure devotional service. So I hope that didn't confuse you too much. So yes, we're talking about any desire other than the desire to serve Krishna is material desire, except the exception of this. Because again, the motivation is not so I can go and make more money, but so I can continue to serve you, my Lord. In other words, even if there's an extraneous desire, the motive must be pure or completely pure. And then it's okay. So one should desire only to please the Lord and thus execute pure devotional service. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, Mataji, continue, please.
Okay. And material design. And philosophical speculations refer to the sort of speculation which ultimately arise at a conclusion of voidism and impersonalism. This conclusion is useless for a Krishna conscious person. Only rarely by philosophical speculation one can reach the conclusion of worshipping Vasudeva, Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita itself. The ultimate end of the philosophical speculation then must be Krishna, then the understanding that Krishna is everything, the cause of all the causes, and that one should therefore surrender unto him. If this ultimate goal is reached, then philosophical advancement is favorable. But if the conclusion of the philosophical speculation is voidism or impersonalism, that is not bhakti.
Yeah, thank you. So now he's come to the second line of the verse. What was the second line? Anybody remembers?
It's the same of the same paragraph.
Second line of the word. No, no. Second line of the verse.
Jnana karma dhyanavritam.
Yes, Gyan Karma Dhyanavritam, not covered by Gyan or Karma. So it's 9:30, so I'm going to stop here and we'll start from this point, actually this paragraph, this part of the paragraph. Next week, hopefully I can do that. April 14th. So I'm going to pause now and any questions or comments?
Thank you, Prabhu, so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Prabhu, when will you upload this recording, Prabhu? I have to listen another time to all
Okay.
this. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I will very soon. Very soon. Give me a couple of days. I'll do that.
Okay, Prabhu.
Any other questions or comments?
Prabhuji, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Like we discussed that a spiritual master is a medium to connect us to Krishna. So how does one know that he is ready to be initiated from a spiritual master?
Yeah, very good question. Very good question. So the very first sign that that you're ready for initiation is that you are now inclined to receive instructions for someone, that you feel the need to receive instructions from someone, and there's a strong desire in your mind to advance in your Krishna consciousness. So that's the very first sign. And you have to speak to some senior devotees in your congregation and discuss this thing. If you have a mentor, you should discuss this issue with your mentor as well, and know in your heart that yes, you really do want to make some serious advancement. You are seriously committing yourself, and then you start looking for a guru. There's a whole process to look for a guru. It's not very straightforward. You should listen to different gurus in ISKCON, see who you feel the most connection to, See who emphasizes what kind of services, then you connect to those. See who their disciples are, can you connect to those, like-mindedness and those kind of things. And then only you're reasonably sure. And then if you're reasonably sure, you can ask for shelter. And then the testing process begins. You're testing your guru, and the guru is testing you. And the way you test your guru is, again, by hearing more classes and seeing if you can relate to those classes. What does he emphasize? Can you relate to what he emphasizes? So for example, some gurus may emphasize book distribution, and maybe you don't want book distribution. Some gurus may want to emphasize kirtan, and maybe you don't like kirtan. You'd rather do deity worship, and so on and so forth, different examples. So you have to know that you have a connection, you have like-mindedness, you have similar, that the guru will be able to give you what you feel you really need, and then only you proceed. Similarly, the guru is testing you all that time as well, whether or not you're a worthy disciple, and only when the both sides agree, the request for initiation should be made, and the guru makes the final decision. Okay, so very, very briefly, that's the process.
All right. Thank you, Prabhuji.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank
You're welcome,
you.
Mataji. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Anybody else? Okay, all right then. Thank you all for your patience and
Thank you,
all
Prabhuji.
your
Thank you,
encouragement.
Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
I really appreciate
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna,
Amazing
Prabhuji.
class.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Please take care of yourself.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Nice to see you.
Hare Krishna, Mother
Thank
Subhadra.
you, Prabhuji. Hare
Nice to
Krishna,
see
Hare
you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I can't believe how you continue.
Yes,
Continue.
your blessings, Mother.
Yeah.
Really. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Sucharipadma. Oh, Sucharipadma, did you get your second initiation?
Hare Krishna.
You got your second initiation?
Yes, Prabhuji, by your mercy, Prabhuji.
Hari Bol. So I also wanted everybody to know that His Holiness Jayapataka Swami gave her the second initiation this weekend in Atlanta.
And Durjay also got.
Oh, he got it as well. So Durjay Prabhu also
Yeah.
got it.
Yes,
His first
Prabhuji.
initiation. And of course, Sucharipadma, his husband, also Patita Pavan.
Yes.
Nitai Ram.
Nitai. Patita Pavan Nitai.
Hari Bol.
Ramdas.
Yeah. Jai. So her husband also got initiation. So congratulations, Mataji. Wonderful.
Thank you,
We're so happy
Prabhuji.
and so
Thank you.
proud of you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Please bless that I become humble and serve nicely.
Oh, you're so humble already.
No, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
You don't want to become humblest. You're very good as you are.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, everyone. Hare Krishna so much again.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So,
Hari Bol.
Thank you.
Anam Pavani Vyo Vaishnavi Vyo
Prabhupada ki jai.